Eli pushed his cart through the busy aisles of the space station market, moving carefully among floating crates and shoppers of all shapes and sizes. The market was alive with color and sound. Glowing fruits hovered in midair, small robots zipped between stands, and aliens of every species bargained in languages Eli could barely recognize. He liked the market. It was chaotic but familiar, a place where he could disappear into the crowd and feel small but useful. As he turned a corner near a row of fresh produce, Eli noticed an elderly alien struggling with a pile of groceries. The alien's body was frail, his long arms shaking slightly under the weight of the floating crates. His scales were faded, a dull gold with hints of green, and his walking staff scraped softly against the floor. He muttered to himself in a language Eli didn't understand, and the crates wobbled dangerously. Eli's instincts kicked in. He stepped forward quickly. "Here, let me help you with that," he said, reaching for the nearest crate. The alien looked up, his eyes widening for a moment in surprise, before he nodded slowly. Eli lifted the crate carefully, feeling its surprising weight. He added it to his cart and then helped balance the others. "Thank you," the alien said in soft English, his voice low and raspy, almost like a whisper of wind. Eli smiled, brushing off the gratitude. "No problem. It looks like you've got a lot here. I can help you carry it to your place if you want." The alien hesitated for a moment, studying Eli with sharp, intelligent eyes. Then he nodded again. I would appreciate that," he said, his voice carrying a faint echo of authority that Eli couldn't place. As they walked together through the crowded market, Eli noticed the details on the alien's clothing. His cloak was simple but well made, with faint golden embroidery along the edges. Medallions hung from his neck, catching the light and reflecting soft glows onto his faded scales. They looked old, worn, and important. Eli's curiosity grew, but he kept his questions polite. "You don't see many people wearing those anymore," Eli said quietly, nodding toward the medallions. The alien chuckled softly, a low sound that reverberated faintly in the market air. "They are old," he said simply. "Memories of things I once knew, long ago." Eli didn't press further. Some mysteries he thought were best left alone. But he kept stealing glances at the alien, wondering about his story. Most aliens in the market ignored him completely, some gave him wary looks. But this one, old and frail as he seemed, carried himself with a quiet dignity that felt different. Eli couldn't explain why, only that he felt it in his chest, a little flutter of respect and curiosity. The market was crowded and lively. Small children ran past them, laughing and shouting, while floating vendors called out the day's specials. Eli maneuvered through the crowd carefully, keeping the alien close and steadying the floating crates. Every so often he asked, "Are you sure this is okay?" And every time the alien nodded, murmuring thanks. Eventually, they reached a small elevator that would take them up to the residential levels. Eli pressed the button, and the doors slid open with a soft hum. The alien stepped inside, leaning heavily on his staff. Eli lifted one of the heavier crates, holding it steady as the elevator began to rise. "You are kind," the alien said quietly, almost as if he were thinking aloud. "Not many humans would do this." Eli shrugged. "I guess I just like helping. It doesn't matter who it is." The alien's eyes seemed to study him for a long moment. There was a flicker of something, recognition, perhaps, or surprise, before he looked away. The elevator reached the residential floor, and they stepped out into a quiet corridor. The alien led the way to a small apartment, modest but tidy. Sunlight streamed through the windows, reflecting softly on the pale walls. Eli set the crates down gently, watching as the alien arranged them with care. "You've done more than I expected," the alien said, smiling faintly. "It is rare to find such help these days." Eli smiled back. "It was nothing, really. I just thought you could use a hand." For a moment, the two stood in quiet silence, the hum of the station below them fading into the background. Eli felt a strange sense of anticipation, though he didn't know why. There was something about the alien, something more than age, more than faded scales and frail hands. Something powerful, though hidden. The alien looked at him again, his eyes thoughtful. "I have seen much in my life," he said softly. "Planets, stars, empires. But today a small act of kindness reminds me that even the simplest gestures can matter most." Eli blinked, not sure what to say. I'm glad I could help," he murmured. The alien nodded, a faint smile playing on his lips. "You have done more than you know, human. Perhaps one day, you will understand how much." Eli left the apartment with a sense of wonder he had not felt before. He had come to the market to run errands, and now he had walked alongside someone extraordinary, though he did not yet realize just how extraordinary the alien truly was. The groceries had been heavy, but the memory of the encounter weighed far more, settling into Eli's mind like a spark of curiosity that would not fade. As he returned to the bustling market, Eli glanced back at the small apartment window. The alien stood there looking out with calm, intelligent eyes. Eli smiled to himself. Helping a stranger had seemed simple, but somehow, he sensed that this meeting was only the beginning of something far greater than he could imagine. The next day, Eli found himself thinking about the old alien as he walked through the station's market. The encounter had stayed in his mind more than he expected. There was something about the alien's calm, quiet presence that felt unusual. Most aliens in the market carried themselves with pride or purpose, but this one moved slowly, yet everyone seemed to sense something about him, even if they didn't show it. Eli was curious. He had finished his errands but decided to visit the same part of the market again, hoping to catch a glimpse of the elderly alien. He didn't know why he felt drawn to him, only that there was a story there, and he wanted to know it. As he rounded a corner near a row of floating fruit stands, he saw the alien again, carefully examining some colorful fruits with his long, delicate fingers. "Good morning," Eli said softly, approaching him. The alien looked up, his faded eyes meeting Eli's with a small, polite smile. "Ah, human," he said, his voice still low and soft, yet carrying a calm authority. "You return." I was just in the area," Eli replied, smiling nervously. "Thought I might say hello." The alien chuckled softly, a deep, quiet sound that resonated slightly in the air. "Very well," he said. "Then you may walk with me." As they moved through the market, Eli noticed the alien's cloak again, with its faint golden embroidery and the old medallions hanging from his chest. They glinted softly in the morning light. Eli had been curious about them yesterday, and his curiosity grew stronger. "Those are very old, aren't they?" he asked. "Where are they from?" The alien's eyes twinkled faintly, and he looked down at the medallions. "Yes," he said slowly. "They are from long ago. Things I once knew long before today. They tell stories of achievements, places, and times that are no longer here." He paused and then added softly, almost as if speaking to himself, "It is strange to hold such things when all around you forgets their meaning." Eli's mind raced. "Achievements?" he asked. "What kind of achievements?" The alien smiled faintly, shaking his head. "You may not believe me, human," he said. "I have traveled to many stars, visited worlds you cannot imagine, and I have met leaders and rulers across the galaxy. I have built empires and I have seen them fall." Eli's eyes widened. You really have?" The alien nodded slowly. "Yes. Long ago I commanded fleets and cities, influenced decisions of planets. Yet all of that is past now. Today I walk quietly, and the only recognition I seek is that I am treated with kindness, not fear or respect for titles." Eli was silent for a moment. He had never imagined that this quiet, frail-looking alien could have been so powerful. He pictured massive fleets, planets under one ruler, and civilizations listening to one voice. And yet, here he was, struggling with groceries, relying on a human for help. The contrast was almost unbelievable. They continued to walk through the market, past stalls with glowing fruits and hovering crates. Eli noticed that people around them seemed to sense the alien's presence. Shoppers slowed for a moment to glance at him, then continued on, but their eyes held a mixture of curiosity and respect. Eli realized that the alien still carried a quiet aura of authority, subtle but unmistakable. "You really commanded half the galaxy?" Eli asked finally, still amazed. The alien smiled faintly. "It is difficult to explain," he said. "Power is not what you think. It is not about fear or strength. It is about responsibility, choices, and the consequences of every action. Even the smallest decision can ripple across worlds. I learned that the hard way." Eli listened closely, absorbing every word. The alien's calm voice made him realize that greatness was not only measured by what you owned or controlled, but by what you gave and protected. "So, all those years, all that power, you weren't happy?" Eli asked quietly. The alien's eyes softened, and he looked down at the ground for a moment. "Happiness, it is fleeting when you are responsible for millions. But moments like today," he said, glancing at Eli, "remind me of what matters. A small act of kindness. A hand offered without expectation. That can mean more than an empire." Eli felt a strange warmth in his chest. He realized that helping with groceries yesterday had been more important than he had thought. He had not only eased the alien's burden but had also reminded him that kindness mattered, even in a universe full of power and politics. You see, the alien continued, his voice soft and steady, even someone small like you can make a difference. One simple choice, one simple act, can touch someone who has seen the entire galaxy. You have done more than you know. Eli smiled, feeling proud and humbled at the same time. He had started the day thinking he was just helping a stranger. Now he understood that the old alien's past was immense, full of stories, victories, and losses. And yet, here he was, valuing the small kindness of a human more than all the power he had once held. As they reached the edge of the market, the alien turned to him with a faint, approving nod. "Remember this, human," he said. "Power may be vast, empires may rise and fall, but true worth is found in how we treat others. Today you have reminded me of that." Eli nodded silently, realizing that their simple meeting had opened a window into a galaxy he could hardly imagine. The quiet alien, struggling with groceries, had once ruled worlds, and yet today he valued a human's kindness above all else. Eli smiled, knowing that this was only the beginning of a story he would never forget. After leaving the market, Eli found himself walking alongside the old alien, whose name he had learned was Veyron. The sun reflected softly off the space station's glass panels, and the hum of engines and distant chatter of shoppers filled the air. Despite the noise, a quiet calm surrounded Veyron, and Eli felt an unusual sense of ease in his presence. He still couldn't believe the stories Veyron had shared about once ruling half the galaxy. Veyron led Eli to a small, modest apartment tucked away in a quieter part of the station. It was neat, organized, and surprisingly simple. Shelves held a few books, some small artifacts, and a collection of glowing orbs that pulsed softly with light. Veyron gestured toward a seat near the window, where sunlight streamed in, casting patterns across the floor. "Sit," he said gently. "Let us talk." Eli sat down, feeling slightly nervous. He had always thought of the galaxy as vast and untouchable, full of powerful leaders and incredible beings. And now he was sitting with one of them, a former galactic emperor who could have crushed worlds with a single command. And yet, here he was, humble, quiet, and sharing stories with a human who had helped him carry groceries. "You must be curious," Veyron said softly, noticing Eli's wide eyes. "You think of power as control, fleets, armies, but that is only part of it. True strength lies in humility, in understanding the weight of your choices, and in recognizing the value of those around you." Eli nodded slowly. I guess I never thought about it like that," he admitted. "I mean, you ruled half the galaxy. How can humility matter after that?" Veyron smiled faintly, his golden eyes reflecting the sunlight. "Power is easy to measure. Influence is visible. But respect, trust, and understanding, those are harder. You carry them in quiet actions, small gestures. Sometimes the smallest act can be more important than the largest fleet." Eli thought of the groceries he had carried the day before. He had never imagined that a simple act of kindness could hold such weight. "So, helping you yesterday, it mattered?" he asked. Veyron nodded, his voice soft but firm. "Yes, it mattered greatly. You remind me that even someone small, someone unnoticed, can impact others in ways that power alone never can. Your actions have weight, Eli, even if you do not see it." The human felt a mixture of pride and humility. He had never considered himself important. He had always thought humans were small, fragile, and insignificant compared to the vastness of the galaxy. And yet, Veyron's words made him realize that even a small human could carry meaning beyond what he had imagined. They spent the afternoon together. Veyron told Eli stories, careful not to exaggerate but to show lessons from his past. He spoke of planets he had ruled, of leaders he had advised, and of mistakes that had cost entire systems. Eli listened quietly, absorbing every word. He realized that Veyron had not only seen power but had also understood its limits and responsibilities. "You see," Veyron continued, "I have learned that greatness is not in domination or fear. It is in knowing when to lead, when to step back, and when to value the smallest voice. Yesterday you reminded me of that. A simple act, a helping hand, taught me as much as all my years of command." Eli felt a warmth in his chest. He had always tried to help others when he could, but he had never understood how much even small gestures mattered. Carrying groceries had seemed ordinary, but now he realized that kindness could ripple across worlds, even touching someone who had once held unimaginable power. Veyron leaned back, looking out the window at the bustling station below. "I have seen empires rise and fall," he said quietly. "I have seen leaders celebrated and forgotten. And yet, what stays with me is not the victories or the titles. It is the quiet actions of those who choose compassion, who act without seeking reward. That is true legacy. Eli nodded, feeling the weight of Veyron's words. He understood now that humility was not weakness, it was strength tempered with wisdom. Power alone could not teach it, only experience, reflection, and kindness could. And in helping Veyron, Eli had unknowingly participated in a lesson that spanned generations. As the afternoon light shifted and the station began to glow with the soft lights of evening, Eli realized something important. He had started the day as a human going about errands. He had carried groceries for a stranger and thought nothing of it. Yet now he had walked alongside a former galactic emperor, learned from his wisdom, and understood that even small humans could hold great value. Veyron smiled faintly at him. "Remember, Eli," he said softly, "humility is not about being small. It is about understanding your place, your actions, and the consequences they bring. You have done more than you know. Never forget that." Eli nodded silently, feeling a sense of purpose he had never experienced before. He had come to the alien's apartment as a helper, but he left as a student of wisdom. And for the first time, he understood that even the smallest human could make a difference in ways that mattered far more than he had ever imagined. Over the next few days, Eli continued his routine on the space station, running errands, delivering small parcels, and observing the busy markets. Yet, his mind often wandered back to Veyron, the old alien he had helped with groceries. There was something about the quiet dignity in Veyron's eyes that stayed with him, a sense of power hidden beneath age and humility. Eli had begun to realize that he had met someone extraordinary, but he still did not fully understand just how extraordinary. One morning, while walking through a quieter corridor near the residential section, Eli noticed a small group of aliens watching him. They lingered near the windows and corners, whispering softly among themselves. When Eli passed, some of them nodded slightly with faint expressions of respect that made him pause. He frowned. Was it because of him? Could someone really recognize him for helping an old alien with groceries? Curiosity pulled him closer, and he quietly followed the whispers toward Veyron's building. As he approached, he saw several older aliens standing outside, quietly observing. Eli's heart skipped a beat. He didn't know who they were, but something about their stance and expression seemed important. Their attention wasn't casual, it was deliberate. Inside, Veyron greeted Eli with his usual calm smile. "Ah, you return," he said softly. "Curiosity follows you, human. It is good. You seek to understand more than you see." Eli nodded, still uneasy. I noticed some aliens outside. They seemed different. Were they looking for you?" Veyron's golden eyes glimmered faintly. "Perhaps," he said. "There are those who remember me. Some have watched quietly, waiting to see if the past still matters. You see, Eli, even though I live simply now, a part of the galaxy has not forgotten who I was." Eli felt a sudden rush of realization. "You mean, people recognize you? Even now?" Veyron nodded slowly. "Yes. My power may have faded, my fleets may have gone, but the memory of influence, leadership, and legacy endures. Some recognize it, some forget. But what matters is what is remembered, and what is shown in action." The human listened carefully, absorbing every word. It struck him that Veyron's humility did not come from weakness, it came from understanding. He had been one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy, yet he lived quietly, valuing kindness and respect above all else. Eli realized that this was rare. Few in the galaxy could bear immense power and not be corrupted by it. Later, as Veyron arranged the groceries they had brought together, Eli noticed a young alien peeking from the hallway. He had wide, curious eyes and a cautious smile. "Grandmaster?" the young alien asked softly, bowing slightly. Veyron looked at him and gave a gentle nod. "Yes, little one. And you see, even the smallest of gestures, like helping carry groceries, shows more understanding than many years of command." Eli felt a shiver of awe. The young alien had recognized Veyron as someone important, yet Veyron treated him with care and calm, as if titles and power no longer mattered. Eli began to understand the quiet lesson. Greatness was measured not by fleets or conquests, but by how one treated others, and by the ability to inspire respect without demanding it. In the days that followed, Eli saw more subtle signs of recognition. Shoppers and merchants who had known Veyron's past would pause, offering polite nods. Station security officers would glance in his direction with quiet deference. Even creatures who had never interacted with him seemed to sense something special. Eli still did not know the full truth, but the signs were clear. Veyron's past power had not been erased, and even small actions, like Eli helping him with groceries, carried weight in the eyes of the galaxy. One evening, as the station lights flickered on and the sky outside glowed with distant stars, Eli walked alongside Veyron on the observation deck. I think I'm starting to understand, Eli said quietly. It's not about the power you had before, is it? It's about the choices you make now and how you treat people. Veyron smiled faintly, his eyes reflecting the stars. Exactly, Eli. Titles and fleets are only shadows if they are not backed by wisdom and compassion. You have reminded me of this, and now others begin to see it too. You, a simple human, have shown the meaning of action without expectation. That is why they watch, why they whisper, and why they recognize something even in the quiet of my life. Eli looked out at the station, at the bustling traffic of ships and aliens, and felt a strange sense of pride. He had thought helping Veyron was small and insignificant. Now he saw that even small humans could touch history, inspire respect, and make a difference. A simple act, a helping hand, had revealed truths that power alone could never teach. Veyron leaned on his staff, looking at Eli with quiet approval. Remember, human greatness is not measured by what you command, but by how you influence others without demanding it. Today your choice to help has reminded even me of what truly matters. One day perhaps you will teach this to others as well. Eli nodded silently, understanding that this was more than a lesson, it was a revelation. Power faded, empires fell, but kindness, humility, and respect endured. He had helped an old alien pick up his groceries, and in doing so, had become part of a story that stretched across the stars. As the lights of the station shimmered in the evening, Eli realized that the galaxy had quietly noticed him. Not for fame or strength, but for the simple human act of helping someone in need. And that, he thought, was a kind of power he had never imagined. The days passed quietly, yet Eli felt the station had changed. It wasn't the technology or the crowded markets that shifted. It was the way the aliens looked at him, the way they paused and acknowledged him with subtle respect. He knew now that Veyron's story, his quiet presence, and the simple act of helping him with groceries had created ripples far larger than he could have imagined. One morning Eli returned to Veyron's apartment. The old alien was arranging small trinkets on the shelf, his movements slow but deliberate. "Good morning, Eli," Veyron said softly. "Come, let us walk. There is something I wish to show you." Curious, Eli followed him through the station corridors. As they walked, he noticed more aliens bowing or giving a small nod as they passed. Some of the younger ones whispered to each other, casting glances toward Veyron and Eli. Eli could see the flicker of recognition in their eyes. He realized that the galaxy did not forget greatness easily, even when it had grown humble and quiet. Veyron led Eli to the observation deck, a large open space with transparent walls showing the stars and distant planets. Eli took a deep breath, staring at the vastness beyond. "Look at this," Veyron said, gesturing to the bustling station below and the ships traveling in and out. "All of this is part of the galaxy we share. And yet, no matter how large or powerful one becomes, it is respect and understanding that leave the true mark." Eli nodded slowly. "I never thought that helping with groceries could matter," he admitted. "But I think I understand now. It's not about what you have or control, it's about how you treat others." Veyron's golden eyes reflected the light from the stars. "Exactly, human. Even the smallest act, done without expectation, can leave a mark far larger than any empire or fleet. You have reminded the galaxy of something important, that kindness and humility can inspire respect beyond power itself." As they walked back toward the market, Eli noticed how the other aliens reacted. Some paused in their work, observing the pair. Others whispered to one another, their expressions a mix of curiosity and admiration. Eli realized that he had become part of a story that was quietly spreading through the station. A human who had shown respect, humility, and care for someone extraordinary, yet lived without pride or arrogance. At the fruit stalls, a young alien boy ran up to them. "Grandmaster Veyron," he said respectfully, bowing slightly. "It is an honor to see you." Veyron smiled softly, resting a hand on the boy's shoulder. "And it is an honor to see you, young one. But remember this, honor is not only in titles. It is in how we act, how we treat each other, and how we carry ourselves with care." The boy looked puzzled for a moment, then nodded. Eli watched quietly, understanding that this simple lesson was spreading, through him, through Veyron, and through every small interaction in the station. He felt proud, not for himself but for the quiet power of humility and kindness. Later, as the sun dipped toward the horizon and the station lights shimmered, Eli and Veyron walked together along the main corridor. "You have done more than you know, Eli," Veyron said softly. "You have reminded everyone who watches that respect is earned not through fear, command, or fleets, but through character, thoughtfulness, and action. Eli smiled, feeling a warmth in his chest. He had come to the station as a simple human, running errands and delivering small packages. He had helped an old alien carry groceries, thinking it was nothing. Yet, that small action had created a chain of respect, recognition, and understanding. The galaxy, or at least the station, had quietly noticed him. Veyron paused near a window looking out at the stars. "I once ruled half the galaxy," he said quietly. "I commanded fleets, influenced governments, and held power beyond imagination. And yet, today the greatest respect I receive is for the human who helped me with groceries. That is the true lesson, Eli. Power fades, but respect earned through kindness endures." Eli nodded silently. He understood now that greatness was not measured by strength, conquest, or titles. It was measured by the way one treated others, by humility, and by the quiet choices that left lasting impressions. He felt a new sense of purpose in his chest, a realization that even small humans could shape the world in ways no one expected. As they parted that evening, Eli carried a renewed sense of pride and responsibility. He continued his errands, delivering packages and groceries, but now with a deeper understanding. Each small action, each kind word, could create ripples that reached far beyond his imagination. From that day forward, Eli walked through the station with quiet confidence. Aliens of all sizes nodded respectfully as he passed. He no longer thought of himself as small or ordinary. He had helped an old alien, listened to his wisdom, and learned that even the smallest human could earn respect across the galaxy. And Veyron? He returned to his simple life, still quietly revered by those who remembered his past, but now also reminded every day that even legends could value humility over power. Together, human and alien had shown that kindness and respect could create a new era, one in which actions, not titles, determined who truly mattered. Eli smiled to himself as he walked back through the market, carrying his own small package. He knew now that even the simplest gestures could inspire awe, respect, and connection, and that sometimes helping someone with groceries could change everything. The galaxy, it seemed, had quietly noticed him, and it would not forget.